Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of the Blackbird Grimoire. Welcome to the daily forecast for Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. A very happy Mercury's day to you. And as a reminder, it is Aries season. We are in the Celtic tree month of Alder. We are Mercury retrograding in Aries, and we have a waning moon. Now for the day's astrology. The sun is in Aries, cardinal fire, representing courage. The moon is fourth quarter Aquarius, fixed air, representing stubbornness. Mercury is retrograding Aries, cardinal fire, representing fiery tempers. Venus is in Pisces, mutable water, representing compassion. Mars is in Pisces, mutable water, representing curiosity. Jupiter is in Taurus, fixed earth, representing practicality. Saturn is in Pisces, mutable water, representing nostalgia. Uranus is in Taurus, fixed earth, representing renovation. Neptune is in Pisces, mutable water, representing imagination. Pluto is in Aquarius, fixed air, representing reformation. And of course, Mercury retrograding means rethink, revise, redo. Keep going after that, carve those letters and fire upon your soul, and you're going to have a more successful retrograde. Now, the moon is a waning crescent now, so rest, reflect, and purge. And because it is an Aquarius moon now, some of your dues are socialize, get into group projects, and pursue wisdom. But what you want to avoid is getting too personal or having to deal too much with dull people or getting lost in your own sense of idealism. Now, it is the day of Mercury, and Mercury is retrograding, so its areas of strength are a little bit jumbled, to say the least. Frustrations are likely to remain quite high, and while it is a very tedious thing, don't neglect the details today. The time that you initially saved by is like, good enough, I'm not going to look at this too closely. That will create delays in your work and everything just further down the line, so be sure to take deep breaths. Take the time that actually needs to be taken. Make sure before you finally submit anything, whether it's a college application or if it's a proposal at work or whatever else it is doing. This is not the day to play too fast and loose with anything that you need to go well. So today's tarot card is the Queen of Arrows. This is pictured by the swan, and it's what we are needing to cultivate in this is a purity of spirit, a sense of freedom, especially of the mind and of the spirit, and to embrace change, because as the swan is gliding across the pond or down the river and dealing with where the water is taking them, so what must we? Sometimes we have to adapt to external circumstances rather than expecting external circumstances to adapt to us. Another challenge with this is to break old bonds and allow for the new, and that can be very difficult. It's a very scary thing because even when we are in an awful situation, if it is known to us, if we understand how it functions, we have a whole core of behaviors that are designed to mitigate those effects and to learn how to navigate through them. So when we allow that to finally go to dust and for new things to form in its place, that can be very scary, even when going into the new territory is probably a better move for us. It is still frightening because it's different. We don't know. We have not learned how to react to it or how to control the situation. So just bear that in mind today. Now, the Celtic triad for today is three things which follow sloth: evil deeds, evil report, and evil end. So, evil deeds, laziness, as many of us have observed, is the precursor to many vices. And of course, vice leads to poor conduct because you're having to support that vice or you've been indulging it to where it turns you into a rather insufferable human being to be around. And that means watch for your relationships to fall apart, watch for your professional endeavors to fall apart, watch for life in general just to fall apart. It's not going to go well for you. Then, evil report. The slothful people do earn a bad reputation, and they deserve that bad reputation. No one can recommend their work because they don't do any. You can't rely on them to do their work because they're not going to get around to it in a timely fashion. This idea that we have unlimited time to accomplish things. I mean, it's just such an insane concept. But there are people who, by their actions, you can tell somewhere they actually believe that they do have all the time. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes things just need to get done. And of course, if someone isn't doing the things that need to get done when they need to get done, well, they're going to earn a bad reputation and deserve every bit of it. And then finally, evil end. Sloth does lead to difficulties. There's lots of bad choices, very poor outcomes, and it builds up. What was a little snowball rolling down the hill suddenly turns into this avalanche that completely wipes out the whole structure of your life. Sloth is not a good thing. Sloth is nothing to be proud of, and sloth is nothing to encourage or to tolerate within ourselves. Today's magical intention is focused on the imagination. The color is topaz, the plant is the honeysuckle, the animal is the firefly, and the crystal is the carnelian. Having a good imagination is halfway to having good visualization skills and focus that is so necessary for spell work. So, exercising that imagination through whatever means, cultivating it, making sure we have that rich landscape, that's going to be all to our benefit if we're practitioners of the craft. For our daily practices, you might meditate on the Star Tarot card. You might create an outline for a present day pagan fairy tale. We are a people of stories, so we shouldn't stop telling stories. I mean, as much as we need to continue to resurrect and bring the existing stories into greater public consciousness, we also need to create new. We need to have things that speak of this moment, but also reflect more eternal truths. I think there's a hunger for that. I think there's a lot of pagan families that would be very grateful if someone took that job on. So if you have a writerly bent, you might see this as a challenge for you to just see if you can do it. It's Wednesday, so it's a good day for divination. And another thing we might do is practice articulating our opinions. The reason why this made the list is because we do end up being in a position where we have to explain ourselves, because as pagans, our worldview is quite different from people who follow other philosophies. And so having to lay the groundwork for, okay, this is the vantage point from where I'm looking at it. These are the principles that influence my thinking and my behavior. And so as a result of all of this, and in reaction to event, whatever it is, that's why I think X, Y, and Z. So getting better at doing that, learning how to do that more succinctly, at being able to truly communicate, that's just a skill set that's going to benefit us to have just generally. Now I realize it's Mercury retrograde. It's not an easy thing to do at any time, let alone when we have an energy that's making communication more difficult. But if we can learn to communicate even when it is difficult, then we are going to be better off, and we're going to be able to proceed more confidently when the energies are right for good communication. And lastly, we might honor a local land spirit. This is all part of my campaign to encourage my brothers and sisters to become more connected to the places where they actually live. Yes, we want to maintain our ancestral ties with our distant homelands, but we live here. And many of us have come from families who have been here for a couple of centuries at least. So it is time to set things right, because when this land was settled by the Europeans, they were no longer a pagan people. And so honoring the land spirits, forming those ties, that's just not something that properly happened. We have an opportunity to connect with that. And honestly, it's an honor to be able to be a part of the generation of pagans who actually are forming those ties and beginning to maintain them. Now, our Fae of the day is the dragon, because I am using Fae in its broadest sense, just referring to any mythological race. And the prompt that I have for you today for your journal is, what do dragons represent to you? Have you had any spiritual encounters with dragons? And what is your favorite dragon story? Just whatever is coming to mind on this subject. Definitely put that all on your pages today. And that is what I have for you in the daily forecast. Come back tomorrow for another edition. In the meantime, share your thoughts and reactions to this one in the comments section, or send me an email at brigantiablackbird@protonmail.com, and we'll talk there. But that'll do it for today. Have a good one. See you next time.